My general sense is that the environmental movements, at least larger ones, have a sense of domain, a sense of space around them, based on the worldview of the dominant members, which, if that happens to be people who are white, then that's the worldview that the club or the organization or the membership, organization has. People of color are now being added to these movements almost as an afterthought. And so I think sometimes these movements are really struggling against change. Because if you were really inclusive, one would be open to the likelihood that the organization would really be transformed by the influx of new ideas, new people, new perspectives, new problems to solve, essentially. And that, I think, is where these movements founder on their diversity campaigns. They don't really know how to talk to communities of color because they haven't had to do so before. They're protective of what these organizations stand for and their mission and all the work they put into them. And yet these are not organizations calibrated for people of color at all. Like I said, we're an afterthought. By contrast, if I go into a black community, I don't hear anyone talking about diversity at all. That's not what the attention of black communities tend to be focused on, right? They're focused on equity issues as a big picture of our journey through this society. Economic disparities, health disparities, environmental disparities are mixed in there with all those other things. It's hard to disconnect them. And I think that's hard for whites to comprehend. Why wouldn't we want to invest our time and energy as people of color in these movements that have done so much work in white communities, that have gotten the grants and have had wins and have done all of this great stuff? These are wonderful movements. That's really what I'm reading between the lines when I see these expressions of solidarity with Black Lives Matter, is they're not really articulating, these organizations are not articulating what they intend to do to make themselves more attractive to communities of color. They're largely defensive of their track record. We're not racist. I think that's what I'm really hearing. Actually, I don't think racism in the strict sense is really what the conversation's about. It's actually about expectations, the low expectations sometimes whites have of people of color when it comes to the environment.